Hi, welcome to MyNewsReal. My name is Patricia Ferguson. I'm your host again today. We have a very special guest in the studio once again, Apostle Demetris Burke. It is an exciting time to listen to Apostle Burke because many of you have wanted more information about him. You've been asking questions like, how was he transformed and what was it that happened in his life that caused the transformation? Well, today you're in for a very, very special treat. Apostle Burke is going to share with you how his transformation occurred. From a young man raised in a beautiful home to the streets, to incarceration, and then, most importantly, a transformation. Welcome, Apostle Demetris. Oh, my goodness.
Excited about being here.
Oh, you better be excited about being here. We've got a newsreel audience that is so faithful toward this channel, and many of them want to really know Apostle. Your incredible transformation happened instantaneously, but not instantaneously, because it was a process. So take us back just a little, fill in some of the dots, and tell us about the transformation that happened in your life.
Well, as you stated earlier, raising an awesome home. My mother raised three boys. I'm the youngest of three. And I started out at a young age. I knew mischievous at a young age. But, graduated from high school, spent a little time in college. But from there, I went straight to the drug game. I was influenced by several movies. I love the movies. I won't name them. But anyway, I ended up in the streets at a young age, selling drugs, hustling, the pimp game. Anything you could think of, I did it. And ended up, my first incarceration was in the year 1989. And from there, I was incarcerated in 92. I did 4 years. That wasn't good enough. 4 years, I had a thing called I was strong in my wrong. So I was just determined to figure out the right way to do wrong. So my first year of incarceration, I did from 1992 to 96. Came home, went back into the drug game, incarcerated again on a violation and did a year. So that's 5 years. And last but not least, from 2002 to 2009. But the last incarceration was a little different. I'm just tired of being tired. 2006, Wake Correctional in Raleigh, North Carolina. I got on my knees in the bathroom cleaning up a toilet and asked God to come into my life.
So you're saying after all of the challenges that you had, with incarceration and all, one day just all of a sudden something happened?
Yeah, well, actually, they had a thing called community volunteer services. I was incarcerated and I worked my way in what they call good behavior. And a bishop, one of the bishops that took me out on a CV pass for 6 hours, and I went to church, which I hadn't been to since I was probably like 15 years old. And it was a choir singing, and the song had stirred up, and later on that evening I just began to reflect, finally reflect, instead of just going in and out of prison, going along with the flow. I really just began to ask myself questions. I was just tired, been away from my family all those years, and I just began to ask real serious questions. God, if you're real, just show me you're real. Because I studied everything from Islam to Rastafari to Buddhism. I did the meditation, I did it all. And raised in the church, but the church wasn't raised in me. Wow. So at this time, I really challenged God and just began to ask him, if you're real at this late night hour, show me you're real. Instead of proving something to me, he showed me my filthy heart. Wow. And from there, I asked God to come into my life. And that was in 2006, April 2006, and my life has been zooming ever since then.
So you said that you had, you've been made familiar with lots of different doctrines and religions. What was it about Christianity that was different than all the others that caused you to kind of grab your attention? Because you're a highly intelligent young man. You're able to process things extremely well. But yet, it appears that something wasn't fulfilling enough for you.
Well, all the other religion just led me to basically what I had, intellectual. Nothing really grabbed me from the inside out. I was able to put the memory, most of the lessons and most of the doctrine according to putting it to memory. But for once in my life, I really felt something happen inside of me. And that's when I knew the distinction. All that I was taught about Jesus being just a prophet, you can meditate your way to God or you can intellectualize your way to the Spirit. None of that worked for me. It led me back to the same old place of having to soul search and find that I was lacking.
So here you are, and I'll use the word typical, meaning that it's interesting because a lot of young people would say, I was raised in a Christian home or faith-filled home, and something just didn't click there. And I think that you said that you were trying to find ways to do wrong right.
Oh yeah.
So then, how were you able to bridge the thinking between an incredible mom who was trying to raise you right in the streets? How were you able to justify what you were doing?
That's a good question. Well, basically, it was desires, and that's the main thing I learned from being really involved with Christ. Christ in me is that desires is what I was chasing out there, and it was never fulfilling. That was the key piece. You know, my mother, we had nice home. You know, drove the cars, had hand-me-down cars, but it was nice. But it was something that wanted me to go more than that, and that was desire. And that was the thing that led me to the streets, more than knowing the moral behavior. What it was, my desire had more influence than what I knew. I knew right from wrong. So when they asked me, while I was incarcerated, they did an interview and asked me, why did you continue to do crime? You're a habitual felon. Why did you continue? And I said, because I wanted to. And that was the bottom line, was my desire had more influence than what I knew as far as right or wrong. And this place inside the penitentiary for the third time, I just got on my knees. I was just tired. Something triggered in me that began to push and press into a place that wasn't leaving me at the bottom. I always felt at the bottom. Every time I sold the drugs, I always felt there was a bottom that still didn't have me fulfilled. And in this place, when I asked Christ to come into my heart, he began to show me my heart and to show me that only he could fulfill that place.